How is the tourism industry going to survive the effects of the pandemic? Our next session is presented by our partners at Meeting Means Business Canada. It explores the economic importance of business meetings and events in a post-pandemic world. La prochaine séance vous est présentée par nos partenaires à Meeting Means Business Canada. Au cours de cette séance, nous explorerons l'importance économique des réunions d'affaires et des événements dans un monde post-pandémique. Thank you to Convention Centres of Canada for sponsoring this session.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you to Catherine for your introduction. My name is Kathy Pugh, and I'm the General Manager of the Fredericton Convention Centre and Chair of the Board of Convention Centres of Canada. Convention Centres of Canada is a proud sponsor of this session, and we, along with Meetings Mean Business Canada, are extremely grateful for the collaboration that TIAC has extended to the business events community. I'm joined today by Clark Gruey. Clark is a founder and the CEO of Rainmaker Global Business Development. He is a visionary global business leader who has advised hundreds of organizations on the nuances and strategies of business expansion and diversification around the world. Clark is also the chair of Meetings Mean Business Canada, and we'll be discussing how meetings and business events will help launch Canada's economy in the post-COVID world. This session has been pre-recorded so that Clark and I are available to chat with you. Welcome, Clark.
Thank you for the introduction, Kathy, and thanks for all the work you're doing to support the business events community across Canada as the chair of Convention Centres of Canada, such an important organization, and you've been a great advocate, and I'm proud to be serving on the board of directors with you. So it's been an interesting year as Meetings Mean Business Canada. Most of you will know that the activity around business events has been virtually shut down. Our coalition, which has supported 229,000 jobs for Canadians in the past, has been at the forefront of this challenge as we advocate for support for our industry by government. All of the event planners, venues, limo drivers, restaurants, caterers, and so many others who support business events are on the sideline, hoping and waiting for the industry to come back in a way that will be meaningful for them personally, so that they can support their families and their communities. As many of you know, Meetings Mean Business Canada has been advocating for the business events industry for the past 10 years. Our coalition was formed following the SARS pandemic back in 2009. And since then, many leaders have fought hard for our industry and worked tirelessly to educate government and other community members about the importance of this often invisible industry. So here we are in 2020. I'll share with you that when I took over the chair in November of 2019, I had no idea what I was in for. Oh, I thought we were on a great track when the board graciously offered for me a chance to chair for 2020 and 2021. We were coming into a record year. 2020 was meant to be a huge year for business events in Canada. So many different types of visitors coming to our country for business events. We would set records again in so many ways. We would drive the economy of so many cities, towns, regions in our country. Of course, that came to a grinding halt in March when COVID-19 shut down our industry and much of our economy. This has guided our advocacy work ever since. Back in February, prior to the pandemic, we had made tremendous strides during tourism days on Parliament Hill in Ottawa. We met with many MPs and government leaders to help them understand what our industry does, not only for tourism, but also for the broader industries and the economy in Canada. We were making great headway, along with our partners at TIAC, in changing the conversation and the understanding around the importance of business events in Canada. Being able to deliver the message that business events drive a third of all tourism that happens in our country, and more than half of the GDP that happens in tourism, was a huge win. We were really being heard. But one small month later, our mandate quickly changed as we began to assess the impact of the shutdown on our industry and began to advocate for the survival of the industry and for all the businesses that rely on it. Let me pause for just a moment and explain a little bit about advocacy. Really, it's a simple concept. It's about educating stakeholders or groups outside of your particular world about your industry. It's really about helping to raise the profile of the importance of a particular segment of the economy to bureaucrats and politicians the people who make policy decisions that can have a profound impact on many elements of your own industry. Advocacy is not technically lobbying, as it is generally seen as an educational process rather than a lobbying effort on a particular issue or policy or piece of legislation. So as we continued our advocacy efforts in the nation's capital, we soon realized that the effort needed to be not only at the federal level, but also at the provincial level. The federal government controls borders and funding for supports for the industry, but it became very clear that the provinces would decide how we might operate in the future. The protocols from the top public health officials, premiers, and health ministers in each province as they determine the rules for the gatherings of people. This put us right in the crosshairs of decisions that were really beyond our control. Task forces sprung up quickly across the country to speak to provincial governments about not only the importance of business events, but also the fact that business events can happen in a controlled and professional fashion. After all, they have always functioned this way, adhering to capacity rules, bylaws, and best practice protocols when it comes to people meeting in a space for a prolonged period of time. This is what our industry is so good at. In fact, event planners, venues, AV companies, rigging companies, etc., are keenly aware of what they can and can't do regarding the setup for a function of people gathering in a space together. In fact, these professionals are and always have been very, very good at this. As a former CEO of a Canadian convention center, I can tell you that the controls that we have in our venues across the country were world-class even before COVID hit us. But in this time of uncertainty, in this time of concern for the health of Canadians, the governments have made the decision that not allowing events to happen is in the best interest of Canadians. And honestly, I'm glad I'm not one of the politicians or policymakers who are having to make these decisions on behalf of us Canadians. That said, Meetings Mean Business Canada continues to advocate, along with many other great partners, including TIAC, Convention Centres of Canada, the Canadian Association of Exhibition Managers, the Canadian Hotel Association, and many, many others who are all pushing for permission to reopen. My message has been firmly that business events are not mass gatherings. They are not concerts or festivals or shopping malls. They're actually very controlled events that allow people to meet safely. In addition to this, business events are critical to the recovery of every industry across Canada and to the reopening of trade activity that drives so many jobs in our country. Business events encourage people to move around the country and invite visitors to Canada to not only do business, but to experience the amazing country that we get to enjoy every day, even in November. It is about tourism, but it's not only about tourism. It's about the health industry, the agriculture industry, the fisheries industry, the energy industry, the forestry industry, manufacturing, the finance industry, technology. Every one of these industries relies on business events, conventions, conferences, exhibitions, etc., to meet and share ideas, to transact, to buy and sell products, and to create new ideas. With business events not being able to happen, these industries are paralyzed. Now, of course, there's online. We all know that many meetings are happening online and will continue to happen online. This is not a bad thing. And please don't lynch me for saying this. I know this is a nasty thing to say. We don't like online events in the live event industry. But online events are a very good thing because without the online event activity that's been happening, so much business would not happen. And we would be in a far more dire place than we are today. But on the other hand, this is the good side, everybody. Virtual events, Zoom meetings, Teams, etc., can't and do not replace a face-to-face meeting or a face-to-face event. We all know this. There is a huge degree of trust that is created through body language, how we communicate in person, through eye contact, and through the lack of distractions when we're on a Zoom call. One face-to-face encounter with somebody is worth 5, 7, or 12 Zoom meetings put together. But don't take it from me. Let's hear from one of our leading business event organizers in one of the most important industry sectors in our country, the health industry. We interviewed Karen Norris, conference manager for the Canadian Association of General Surgeons, back in 2019. And we heard about how much of an advocate she was for our industry at that point. And then we interviewed her again in 2020. And here's what she has to say about the impact of face-to-face meetings then and what she had to say now.
My name is Karen Norris, and I'm the conference manager for the Canadian Association of General Surgeons. Numbers talk, and we have the numbers to prove our importance. We have over 900 delegates that attend our conference. We actually did an economic impact assessment based on our conference, and we had a $1.2 million economic impact in the 4 days that we were there. And that's powerful because we weren't even a big conference.
So I'll start quite general and just maybe get your perspective on how you've seen the COVID-19 crisis impact you and the industry you're in. Just share your thoughts on that.
What I live and breathe is events, and our industry has been decimated. It's been heartbreaking to watch. Our conference was scheduled to happen in Vancouver in 2020. So in February, I saw what was coming down the pipeline with COVID. And like any event professional would do, I put together a risk management plan, a cost-benefit analysis. We finally met as a board in April, and we made the decision to cancel the conference.
I am a huge proponent of the value of face-to-face meetings and the importance of individuals coming together to meet face-to-face. We network, we bond, we strengthen our knowledge together, we strengthen our unity together, and we're all there for a common goal. And that's incredibly powerful face-to-face, and that's what emails and phone calls lack in the long term.
Our annual conferences are the second largest revenue generating line item for our association annually after membership dues. So this meeting annually is critical to our survival, and for our delegates to not have an appetite to offer this virtually and charge an amount to try to cover the losses that we're incurring this year speaks volumes. They would actually rather take a loss this year than try to replicate the important interactions and outcomes of face-to-face meetings and doing it virtually.
Thanks, Karen. I'm sure that all of you have had the experience of trying to build trust with a new person over a Zoom call. It can be done, absolutely, but it definitely takes multiple calls and multiple encounters to build the trust you can build in one single face-to-face meeting. So what are we advocating for these days? What are we asking from government to support our industry? Well, first of all, we're looking for funding for the industry, liquidity supports for those companies with equipment or bricks and mortar or financial commitments that they cannot bear. We are also pushing for the continuance of programs that are working to support our industry. Our industry is very much part of the hardest hit industries in this country. And of course, we're part of the coalition that TIAC and the Canadian Hotel Association of Canada initiated to raise the awareness of the hardest hit coalition. And I really want to encourage us all to appreciate the work that's been done around this group. There's a lot of amazing leaders out there. These two organizations are two of them, but there's many others that are battling through to raise the awareness of the hardest hit coalition. Our message to the provincial governments is one about understanding who we are, allowing us to function in ways that are safe, healthy, and controlled. Helping them to understand that a business event such as a conference or exhibition is not the same as a retail shopping center or a wedding or a graduation. Not that these aren't important gatherings of people, but it's important for us to be able to help the provincial governments understand that there's an important difference between the two. We've had some success. In Calgary, the BMO Centre is hosting consumer shows successfully and safely. And now I want to turn to you, all of you who are here because you understand this industry. You understand the tourism industry and its importance to the Canadian economy. I recall being physically at the TIAC Congress a couple of years back and hearing a stat that when we bring an international visitor to Canada for a business event, they spend 4 times what a Canadian would spend on their visits. This is not that Canadians are cheap. Okay, maybe a little bit, but what it does tell us is that an international visitor who are here on perhaps a corporate expense account spends significantly more than we do at home on our own dollar. But without the ability to invite international guests back to Canada, we're expecting Canadians to support our industry and keep us alive. And they will do this the best they can. But if one visitor from outside our country creates 4 times the impact with dollars that are freshly coming into our economy, how important is that spending to creating jobs and opportunity and stability for Canadians? How important is it that we find a way to get them back? I would argue that it's vital. If we continue to rely on government and consumer spending by Canadians for recovery, we will not recover nearly as fast nor as effectively. And we will if we can invite our guests back, offer rapid testing and proper COVID protocols, keep them safely engaged in business events, and allow them to experience Canada safely. The tests are out there. They're available today. We must implement rapid testing at our entry points ASAP. I commend the government efforts to test these protocols at the Coutts border crossing and the Calgary airport in Alberta. We need to learn quickly from these pilot projects and roll rapid testing out into our airports. Until we can open back up to the international visitors, our recovery will be slow and difficult. Now, these are trying times for everybody. I've spoken to so many of you over the past year who are truly struggling and truly hurting at this time. Let me assure you that you're not alone. In fact, you're very much not alone. This community is stronger now than it ever was, and this community of associations and groups that are supporting the broader industry is more aligned than we ever have been. There are so many amazing people across the country in the business events industry, and we must all continue to advocate, each one of us, not just the volunteer board of MMBC. We have to continue to come together and support the message that business events can drive economic revitalization for Canada. So my ask of you is quite simple. Get involved. Get involved like Cam Stevens of Stevens E3 did in London, Ontario last month, when he invited his MP to come to his place of business, his shop, to talk about how devastated his exhibit company has been by the shutdown of business events. Thank you very much for your leadership on this, Cam. Really appreciate supporting your efforts there. And please make sure you are active on social media. For those of you that are not as advanced as others in this regard, I know you're out there, at very least, be on LinkedIn. It is not just a job hunting site anymore. It's actually a far more robust community engagement platform. Follow the Meetings Mean Business Canada page on LinkedIn and be part of the business events community, sharing your ideas and thoughts and hearing from the community from coast to coast to coast. Also, more than ever, there's a need to talk to our politicians, either at the federal, provincial, or municipal level, about our industry, about what it does for Canada's economy, about the people who are deeply impacted by it being shut down. People who are from a wide range of heritage, diversity, and family situation. The business events industry represents some of Canada's most vulnerable citizens. And for those of us that can, we need to rise up and speak up. That's every one of us. I know that this is a highly diverse and highly trained group of professionals as well. I've always been amazed by the certifications that people in our industry invest time and money in achieving. Certifications to give their clients confidence should also give our governments confidence in this industry. Some of these important accreditations include the CMM, Certificate in Meetings Management, Certified Meeting Professional, Certified Special Event Professional, Certified in Exhibition Management, Certified Incentive Travel Specialist, Certified Incentive Travel Professional. I'm sure there's many, many more. But as we look at venues, we look at the various different certifications that our venues, our operators, hotels, and others engage in. This is a highly trained and regulated industry that is poised to support the recovery of the tourism industry as we turn the corner on COVID-19, the pandemic. To our government friends listening to this presentation, thank you for joining us. I appreciate the opportunity to just speak to you and help you understand a little bit better about this very, very interesting and very special group of people. I trust that you'll understand the level of professionalism that exists in this critical industry is there waiting to get going. Finally, to all of you in the business events industry, I wish that I could tell you that we're going to spring back to where we were in 2019 quickly and simply. It won't be easy. It won't be simple. We are in a new normal. Protocols, regulations, rules of engagement, safety procedures are all going to be part of our world for months and possibly years. So I encourage you to fight for your existence while thinking creatively about how you fit in the new normal. How do you need to adjust your business to meet the new world? Is your customer still your customer? Is your former competitor now a partner? Is your market still Canada or is it global? These are all very real questions as we get used to the new normal of virtual and hybrid events. Make no mistake, Canada will need the business events industry. They will need all of you and what you do so well. They will need each discipline that we offer. Live business events will happen again, and we'll need each of you business event professionals watching this session to step up. It's just a matter of when.
Thank you, Clark. That was very insightful. And there is no doubt that meetings and business events spur economic activity as well as tourism. I do have a couple of questions for you. What is the most single important policy change needed from government at the provincial and territorial levels to allow business meetings and events to restart?
Thank you, Kathy. And I think, it's been fascinating for Meetings Mean Business to get involved provincially because it wasn't really our focus until this all hit us. And so when we talk to the provincial levels, territorial levels, where they are controlling the protocols within which we operate a business event, the most important policy or even nomenclature we need change is that business events are different. They're very controlled. It's very capable to control how we interact as people in a large venue like a convention center or hotel. And if we can get the provincial governments to understand the difference of a business meeting from a concert, festival, or mass gathering, I think we'll be on a great path forward. And I must say, Kathy, the provinces are listening to this. They are talking to us. They're hearing these task forces that have sprung up across the country. So we believe we are actually getting closer to this.
Excellent. And how about at the federal level?
Well, the federal government level is a whole nother set of challenges and set of challenges for government. As I said in my remarks, I believe that rapid testing is one of the most important things we could be looking at and pursuing, so that we can get a handle on the challenges ahead of us, and also so we can create confidence of Canadians to move around the country, the confidence of our international friends to actually come into Canada and feel safe. And I think it starts with rapid testing so that everybody can feel comfortable that they're safe wherever they go in our country.
Excellent. What can our audience do to support the work of Meetings Mean Business Canada and to self-advocate on behalf of this sector?
Yeah, this has been a question I've heard many times, which I appreciate because I know we've got such passionate people in our industry. And obviously the support you can give us by being part of MMBC, by supporting us on social, by connecting with us and sharing your stories. All of these are really important pieces. And then, of course, advocacy is the voice of many. It's not the voice of one or a few. It's the voice of many. And we have business event professionals, and I've said this to many politicians. We have business event professionals in all 338 constituencies across this country. So this is very much something that hits home for every single MP across our country. And we need to get out and let them know that. You all have access to your MPs. It's very simple to write a letter in and let them know how this is impacting you. We've had some writing campaigns that have been facilitated through TIAC that have been very successful, and they've opened up doors to conversations we didn't have prior. So please use these channels, talk to your MP, let them know how this is actually impacting you.
Thank you, Clark. One final question. What key messages can business event professionals help get across to government and generally to Canadians?
Well, the first one is how professional this industry is. And we all know this. And we've been very good at speaking to ourselves over the years. We need to start telling the world about all the different accreditations our organizers have, our planners have, our facilities have, how we do this very, very well. We are world class at putting on business events. We need to tell the government that. And then generally Canadians, we need to earn their confidence again, that a business event is not loose. It's not going to be a place where you're unsafe. It's going to be held to the highest standard. And we need to let Canadians know that they're safe when they come to a conference or an exhibition or whatever that might look like. So it's going to take all of us for sure to get the message out, but we know how good this industry is at doing this safely, and we need Canadians to understand the same message.
Thank you. Well, it looks like we're out of time. Thank you, Clark, for sharing your insights and for the work Meetings Mean Business Canada does for this industry. And thank you to our audience. This was a great experience for me, and I hope the next time we will see each other in person at one of the great Canadian convention centers.
That was a great session. I know I learned a lot. We're going to take a short networking break, and we'll come back for our first keynote speaker. Renowned futurist Nicholas Badminton will share his ideas on what Canada's tourism industry might look like post-COVID-19. Nous reviendrons pour écouter notre premier conférencier de marque. Nicholas Badminton, prévisionniste réputé, nous fera part de ses idées pour l'avenir de l'industrie touristique canadienne au lendemain de la crise de COVID-19. I'll see you on the main stage at 2:30 p.m. Eastern.